Good morning. Violent clashes between police and protesters in central London were finally broken up in the early hours of this morning. It followed a largely peaceful demonstration by hundreds of thousands of people against the government's spending cuts. Police officers are blaming last night's trouble on a small minority. More than 200 people were arrested. Well, our reporter John McManus is in Trafalgar Square for us now. Looks peaceful there now, John, but it was rather different a few hours ago.
Yes, Nick, a very different scene several hours ago. When we arrived here before dawn, about 3 hours ago, the square was covered in glass, there were abandoned placards and there was general mess. It looked like there'd been a protest here overnight. That's now been cleared up, the workmen have been hard at work. All that remains behind me are the crash barriers and the graffiti which is covering the famous Trafalgar Square lines and the base of Nelson's Column. The police say what happened here last night was that between 200 and 300 protesters arrived here. They tried to occupy the square and they caused some disruption in surrounding streets and to the traffic flowing through what is a very busy area on a Saturday night in central London. The police decided they couldn't countenance that and they moved in. These were the scenes from London's most famous square late last night as up to 300 protesters clashed with police close to Downing Street and the West End. They'd made their way there after the main march of the day had finished, with some saying they wanted to turn the area around Nelson's Column into another Pearl Square, referring to the recent protest in Bahrain. When the crowd became more disruptive, police officers moved in, first to contain them and then to disperse them. Overall, police say they made 214 arrests throughout the day. 66 people were injured, including 13 police officers. It was a violent end to a day of mostly peaceful protest. Around 250,000 people descended on the capital to join the Trades Union Congress March, protesting against the government's austerity programme, which critics say will lead to major cuts in public services. It was a mostly friendly atmosphere as marchers wound their way from Victoria Embankment to Hyde Park, where speakers including the Labour leader Ed Miliband addressed the crowds.
You are those people standing up for the mainstream majority in Britain, standing up for justice, standing up for fairness, standing up for change.
However, a small splinter group did break off from the main march, attacking shops on Oxford Street and throwing missiles at the Ritz Hotel. Members of the group UK Uncut, who believe some of Britain's leading businesses are avoiding large amounts of tax, also occupied the Fortnum & Mason department store on Piccadilly. The TUC has condemned the violence, saying it shouldn't distract from their central message. Keep back, keep back. As police study footage of the violence, the march organisers will be waiting to see what impact the day's events will have had, if any, on the government's plans. Now, as I said, the police said that the total number of arrests yesterday was 214. That's for the whole day. That number may well increase, though, as several people were arrested late here last night. Several government ministers have condemned the violence, but they've also said they realise why some people feel angry about the cuts and about the austerity programme. But right now, most of the protesters, or well, all of the protesters are gone. The only people we've seen here this morning have been several Scotland fans on their way to the Emirates Stadium to watch their team play Brazil later today.
John McManus in Trafalgar Square. Thank you very much indeed. Right, OK.